Hello, hello, hello. I'm David McGard. This is Property Value, where I talk about commercial real estate focused on South Florida. It is Tuesday, April 19th. Let's get into some headlines. Let's see what's going on in the news. First one up. Let me make this a little better. This is from the South Florida Business Journal, and it reads, Miami short-term rental company readies IPO. This is by Eric Bohensky, again, reporter, South Florida Business Journal. And I'm a fan of short-term rentals because it's a mixture of multifamily and hospitality coupled with technology, automation. I just think it's cool. We just finished renovating our townhouse and we're putting all the little Airbnb knickknacks in there, even though we're in a community that you can't Airbnb, but we just wanted to find out and figure out how the platform works. And we got the smart locks on our doors and the smart TV, and we're going to have Google House and just, trying to put all the technology in there and understand the technology, right? Before it runs off without us. So the article goes like this. Corp Housing Group, a national short-term apartment rental operator with holdings in Miami, Miami Beach, and Fort Lauderdale, is preparing to go public with 2 million shares priced between $8 to $10 each. The Miami company expects to raise at least $15.6 million from an initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange. According to documents filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission on Friday, a ticker would be CHG. With the funds raised from its anticipated IPO, Corp Housing would pay off debts, dole out a couple of bonuses, and speed up its expansion plans. By the end of 2022, Corp Housing Group's executives aim to control between 2,500 and 3,000 short-term rentals for business travelers and vacationers. It would expand its operations internationally from 9 cities to 12, including possibly London and Paris. Currently, Corp Housing leases 629 units in hotels, apartment buildings in Miami, Miami Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Los Angeles, New York, Boston, Denver, Los Angeles twice, Seattle and Washington, D.C. An additional 1,800 units are under lease negotiations or letters of intent that could be added to the operation by September 30th. Although its corporate office is based 2125 Biscayne Boulevard. That's close to me. Maybe I should go down and introduce myself. Most properties of the Corp Housing Group controls are located outside of South Florida, including 15 in Los Angeles, 10 in Boston, 10 in Washington, D.C., 8 in New York City, 3 in Seattle, and 3 in Denver. Within South Florida, Corp Housing is leasing 3 buildings in Miami, 3 in Miami Beach, and 2 in Fort Lauderdale. Corp Housing Group listed 3 Miami Beach addresses in its public filing, including a 10-year lease for 24 apartment units at 1200 Ocean Drive, a 6-year lease for 68 rooms at the Verity Hotel at 1700 Alton Road, and a 5-year lease for 48 rooms at the Impala Hotel. In New York, Corp Housing Group touted holding a 15-year lease for 118 rooms at the Blakely Hotel. Additionally, Corp Housing Group would hire additional employees beyond its roster of 107 full-timers and independent contractors as the business becomes increasingly complex because of the factors including the rapid evolution of its industry and e-commerce. Between $5 million and $7.5 million of its IPO funding would be used for letters of credit on refundable security deposits, for which the company is already under contract. Another $1.2 million would be used to pay its debts. We are also obligated to pay cash bonuses in the aggregate of $300,000 to 2 of our executive officers upon completion of this offering, the filing stated. The filing did not state which 2 executives would be paid that bonus. 4 independent directors would also get an annual fee of $74,000 each. Corp Housing Group reported $32 million in rental revenue in 2021. That's a 138% increase from the year before. However, costs such as $10.8 million in COVID-19 related refunds put Corp Housing Group in the red with a net loss of $2.23 million last year. The company had $2.6 million in assets, $14.9 million in liabilities per its latest SEC filing. So it said it made $32 million. However, cost as 10 million went back, so that means they would really made 22 million, and that's a net loss of 2 million. The latest filing is the third amendment to its IPO plan submitted to the SEC. The company reduced the number of shares offered for sale and amount it expects to raise compared to its initial co-public plan submitted to the SEC January 11th. At first, Corp Housing planned to offer 4.29 million units of common stock priced between $6 and $8, with an anticipated 27 million raised from its debut on the public markets. Founded in 2017 and led by CEO and managing partner Brian Ferdinand, Corp Housing Group books short-term rentals through its subsidiary companies, Sobe New York and Lux Urban, and via third-party websites such as Booking.com, Vrbo, Airbnb, and Expedia. Should its IPO move forward, Ferdinand, who was previously the CEO of Vacation Rentals LLC, will retain 67.2% of the Corp Housing voting power. No one from Corp Housing Group returned phone calls or emails for comment from the Business Journal. So that looks cool. IPO going with short-term rentals, and they're expanding their business. I like it. I like the entrepreneurship behind it. I like the concept, the business plan, and I'm a fan and want to check more out of that company. So swinging over now to Real Deal South Florida real estate news. Article states homeowner associations look to box out investors. Now, I was reading an article last week where it was talking about the condo buyers and lenders and questionnaire that was asked to be filled out by the association for the lender, mandated by the state to secure that the building is worth living in and safety for the buyer, and how you were having pushback by the condo associations because they didn't want to fill out the questionnaire. And this was slowing down the lending process, making the lenders get edgy and not want to go down the road of that. And then they were trying to find loopholes to go around the questionnaire to be filled out, which is in turn really what needs to be done. Is the questionnaire needs to be filled out so the tenant or the buyer can feel that they are safe and secure in the building that condo association, the building that they purchased, a piece of the building. And I don't know. So here we go again. Homeowner associations look to box out investors. Now, this kind of sounds like, if I just read the article, the title, it sounds like they're not willing to allow short-term rentals in there, which we know that in Miami right now, particularly West Brickell, there's towers being built condo towers just for investors to buy who want to be involved with short-term rentals. And so let's read this article. There's a little house trap. It says some homeowner associations are taking steps to keep investors out of their developments. The groups are eyeing measures to discourage investors from buying in their communities. The Wall Street Journal reported institutions' share of American home purchase reached a 2-decade peak last year, largely because they are buying single-family homes to rent them. That's what some homeowners are looking to stop. They call this horizontal multifamily because usually multifamily is a vertical building with floors stacked on top of each other. But if you're an institutional player like Blackstone, for example, that goes into big communities and buys the whole community out, well, the houses are stacked horizontal. So they call it horizontal multifamily. Let's read on. Some homeowners and associations have capped the numbers of rentals in their development or required rental tenant approvals. Lenders of these associations say investors are making it hard for traditional buyers to purchase homes. They're coming in and they're basically buying out with cash offers. Chase Barrier, president of the Whitehall Village Master Homeowners Association in Northern Carolina, told the Journal. The HOA sees several downsides to having lots of rentals rather than owner-occupied homes, including more transient residents, less upkeep of properties, and lower property values. Not restricting rentals, however, can make it easier to sell because it broadens the pool of buyers. Cash offers typically allow for faster and easier closings. Investors in recent years have taken a bigger bite of the apple than ever before. Last year, they bought almost one in every seven home across 40 major metro areas, according to the Redfin. Their share of home purchases reached its highest level in at least 2 decades, and they targeted newly built homes in particular. I don't know what just happened. Okay, there we go. Determining how many associations are passing rules to restrict investors is difficult, but the number appears to be growing. Restrictions on usage and leasing have made up about 30% of the amendments passed by HOAs in Florida, Arizona, North Carolina, and Texas since 2019, up from 21% from the previous 3 years, according to the journal. It's estimated thousands of associations pass such restrictions. Not every community is in favor of fighting back against the investors. Some cite the importance of rental options for those struggling to purchase homes. California is one state where investors have more leeway, as the state has banned HOAs from placing certain limits on long term leases. The only real purpose of restricting rentals in a given community is to keep renters out. Actions which, in our view, are both harmful and dangerous. David Howard, executive director of the National Rental Home Council, told the Journal. That article was by Hayden Walton Werner of Real Deal. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. It's a national article about homeowner associations and their lockout of these investors in the single family house communities. And my next article and final for the day here, April 19th, I wanted to look at the U.S. consumers paying 8.5% more for goods and services than a year ago. This is a national look at the annual inflation rate, not seasonally adjusted. And if you look at the chart, you can see the hockey stick spike here in March of 2020, and it just keeps on going. Came down in 1984, pretty stable last 20 years, but now spike. U.S. consumers, and this is by Charlotte Wheeler on RealPage Analytics. It says U.S. consumers are continuing to pay more for goods and services as prices edged even higher in March. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, for all urban consumers, a measure of price changes commonly referred to as the inflation rate, has been trending up since January 2020 and increased 1.2% from February 2022 to March 2022, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Recent growth took the annual increase to 8.5%, the fastest inflation rate since 1981, when the country was in a severe economic recession. Inflation has been hovering around these 40-year highs for 5 consecutive months. Accounting for much of the recent increase, energy prices were up 32% in the year ending March, with fuel oil prices surging at 70.1% and gasoline prices jumping 48%. As the war in Ukraine drove up energy costs, food prices climbed 8.8% on an annual basis. And with the increase in the price of meat, poultry, fish, and eggs, 13.7%, heavily contributing to that upturn, the recent overall increase in consumer prices was also partly attributed to surging prices of pre-owned vehicles, as the price of used cars and trucks soared 35.3% in the year ending March. Additionally, the cost of airline fares rose 23.6% over the past year. Excluding food and energy prices, which can be volatile, the core CPI rose 6.5% year over year. While less than the surge in the all items index, it was still the sharpest increase since the year ending August 1982. Recent inflation reflects a surge in demand and shortages of materials and labor. To slow demand and reduce inflation, the Federal Reserve System approved a 25 basis point interest rate hike in March, the first increase since December 2018. 3 more hikes are expected throughout the remainder of 2022, taking the fund rate to at least 2% by the year end. The benchmark, the federal funds rate, the benchmark federal funds rate had been near to zero since the beginning of COVID-19. And since this article was written, the Feds have come out again and saying that probably that they're probably most likely going to take that funds rate to 2.75. So even since this article has come out, they've already put out publicly they'll probably raise it another 75 basis points. I'm David Magard. David Magard, you've been listening to Property Value, April 19th. Enjoy your day. See you tomorrow. Bye. Thanks for listening.